Hey everyone, welcome back to the Joe La Rosa Show. Hope everyone had a great Valentine's Day. And we are here today with a very special guest. We're here with our one and only director of coaching, Tiffany Polite. Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we love you here at La Rosa, so we're excited to have you on the show today.
I'm excited to be here.
All right, so let's get an opportunity here to allow you to introduce yourself to our guest. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself, your background, and kind of how you got into real estate.
I feel like I should have had the Jay-Z song. Allow me to reintroduce myself. But I don't have the music, so that's okay. So a little bit about me. I actually had 20 plus years in management, believe it or not, in retail though. But I was a director, an area manager, so a lot of managing multiple personalities. A lot of engagement with clients and building rapport. And that's kind of where I decided that I wanted to take a different leap and take that leap of faith into real estate. Okay. And I did. And I interviewed multiple brokerages, Joe. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest.
It's all good.
I started at La Rosa, Orlando with Ray and Rodney and Frank, and I interviewed there, and then I went out and I interviewed a couple of different brokerages, but I found myself at home with La Rosa.
There you go. So we love that.
Yeah, but I encourage people to do that. I'm going to be very honest when I interview, and I do that because I want them to really see the difference in our culture, see the difference in what we say. We stand by family, passion, and growth, and that's truly what it is.
No, listen, I couldn't agree with you more.
He didn't pay me, you guys.
Listen, I couldn't agree with you more because let's just be honest. Everybody says the same thing.
Yep.
Right? You
Very
go
true.
to any of these real estate trade shows or recruiting affairs, everyone's booth says the same thing. We have great leads. We have great technology. Yeah. But yeah, listen, our culture is one thing that has definitely allowed us to stand out over the years. But how about now you kind of get into real estate here at La Rosa. Mm-hmm. You have a great, obviously, career, and then you kind of migrate into coaching.
I did.
How did that happen?
I was approached actually by Rodney, my former broker downtown Orlando, and he asked me to take on the new role of coaching at the branch when they opened, and I pushed back on it, to be honest. Yeah. I pushed back because, again, I came out of a leadership role where I was managing multiple stores, right, from Orlando to Puerto Rico, believe it or not. And I was like, I don't really want to do that because now I had this rhythm going.
Right.
But then he wanted to plug somebody else in. And then I was like, no, you're not. And so I took it on, and it was my baby, and I created something amazing down there. And I'm proud of that. Yeah. I'm proud of that. Yeah. And I guess that's just the leadership in me of like, I didn't want anybody else to do it. I wanted to do it myself. It could be the leadership or the fact that I'm a woman and I'm like, you know what? I want to be in control of things. So that's how it started.
So who'd have thought, right? You join us as a realtor, then you kind of get into coaching, and now you're the director of coaching. So we're going to get to that a little later on.
It is.
Talk
it's
about
my testimony.
It's my some of the cool things that you've been able to do here. So
yeah,
awesome.
Exciting.
So let me ask you this. There's a lot of folks out there that will speculate and they'll make assumptions. And, I've talked about, one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to do this show was, I go on social media, I go on Facebook, and I see everyone kind of prophesizing about what's happening in the real estate industry and all this, all these speculators. Where do you see some of the most common misconceptions right now that people have with the real estate industry?
The biggest thing right now is the market's going to crash.
Yeah,
the market's going to crash. And so what I try to educate my agents, in addition to the coaches, is, have some facts. Look at where we were at in 2008. Look at where we're at now and show them. Utilize, any kind of tool, any kind of report to really educate your buyers or your sellers, because people just really think because the news has it out there that, oh my God, the market's going to crash. We're going through this. We're going through that. It's a lot of changes in the mortgage business, right? The surplus of homes that we have. So really keeping yourself educated is how you can overcome some of the misconceptions, I'll say. Yeah. Absolutely. And people think the shit is easy, and it ain't. I don't know if I'm even supposed to say shit on the show, but I did.
Hey, you know what? It's all good. I love it. Absolutely.
It's not.
From time to time, I may say the same thing, so no worries.
It's not easy, but I think you stay ahead of the game through the education, through the tools, and through, the coaching. Yeah. Really, really do. Yep.
Well, I tell a lot of our our realtors, I'm like, listen, let's use the example of when you're not feeling well.
Right.
When you're not feeling well, and you want to go get assessed, you're not going to go on Facebook or on Instagram and just post, hey, I have this little bug here. What medicine should I take?
Right. We definitely don't want nobody doing that.
We don't want people to do that, but people do that in real estate.
They do.
And they'll ask questions, and then you get a lot of these folks, and sometimes it's the folks that haven't had that much success.
Correct.
They love to be the most vocal, and they could be really
Correct.
putting out some really bad information or bad advice. So, I think it's very, very important for our clients, right, consumers, to know that they have to go to the right professional, right? So going back to my analogy, you don't go to Facebook or Instagram. You go see a doctor. You go see a professional. So we as realtors, we're professionals, right? So I think that's very important to continue to kind of remind our agents of that. So
stay in their lane. I always say that, what you're good at, just listen, focus on that and educate people on what you're good at.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you another question. How do you stay current on some of the industry trends right now that are happening in our market?
So I utilize my tools and my resources. Keeping Current Matters is one of my favorites.
I love that site. Great site.
Yeah, I love it, love it, love it. And they have videos, they have newsletters. I also use list reports to do a little bit of marketing and figure out what's going on as well. So I take a lot of time to really dig down into some of the tools and resources that I have, so I can stay on top of the trends.
Yeah, absolutely.
I use social media too, Joe. And I may Google a few things or two.
Hey, listen, I Google, right? We have to Google, right? So listen, during the pandemic, Keeping Current Matters was a great place for us to go to. And, we wanted to provide as much content and real information because there was a lot of disinformation being put out there and a lot of speculation and all that good stuff. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So let me ask you, so you still work with clients, obviously, but of course, as the director of coaching, you're also helping a lot of our agents here and a lot of our coaches. So how do you help both your clients, and then I guess the second part of the question is, how do you help our coaches be able to kind of set goals for themselves and really be able to stick to their goals?
I think planning is key, right? And I always tell people it's planning and balance. You have to have balance. So I can't run a department and run a business if I don't have balance. And I'm so planful. Like I've planned the entire year of my coaching, of my events, my personal events, my work events. So it's really the planning and the balance. That's what I do. And then I sit down and have these conversations, and even just, a quick little phone conversation with coaches. Where do you want to be? What do you want to do? What's your goal? How many agents do you want to graduate? For example, Lewis in our downtown office, I did a Manifest That Shit party.
Yeah.
And he, spoke about what he wanted to do as the new coach of downtown Orlando. And so my goal is to make sure I'm motivating him and inspiring him to achieve those goals.
Right.
So I always tell them, plan it out, because, running, even just take myself out of the role of being, a director, right? And just as a real estate agent and as a coach, that's multiple personalities, because a lot of our coaches have 10 or more agents. So you got to think about that. They need you. So I tell them, set those boundaries. Like, what does that time look like? When are you available? When are your days off? Because that's important. Don't work 7 days. Like, that's not healthy for you,
right? And
you can't be effective. So really make sure that they are resourceful in the way that they run their business. And I have to do the same thing as a director. So I'm just taking my planning and my balancing, looking at both of what I do and just conquering it that way.
Yeah, awesome. I know you and I have a lot of alignment in many things, but I know you and I have been very getting involved with Grant Cardone, and we'll talk about that here at the very end too. But one of the things that I love in regards to goals that, we've heard for years, how important it is to set and establish a SMART goal, right? And a lot of the times in the past, I felt like I was kind of like misled, because I was taught a SMART goal is a specific goal, it's a measurable goal, attainable, actionable, right? And then the R is kind of the one where I kind of felt like I was misled, because I always thought, it was realistic. And so I would create...
Your goals aren't realistic.
So I would set these SMART goals, and what I found was that I was always able to achieve my goals.
Right.
And let's not forget the T, right, which is the timeline. But I was always able to set my goals and achieve them, but I was really always just going after the low hanging fruit.
Yep.
Right. And so I was progressing in life. We were growing. But I mean, look at where we are now today. Right.
Look at where we
going
are,
into NASDAQ as a publicly traded company.
Love it.
2 years ago. Right. That was not a realistic goal.
Right.
Let's just be honest. And so if I would have stuck to that, I know that we would not probably be here where we are today. So I love the fact that you and I are in alignment with that, and you helping our coaches understand that listen, let's create some really crazy goals, man.
It has to make you uncomfortable. If your goal is too comfortable and you're like, oh, I can obtain that, then it's really not the right goal for you.
Yeah, listen.
It's really not. I believe that.
So in the moment, I probably don't really want to attest to this, but after the fact, I will. Where your goal should, keep you up at night, get you a little bit nervous,
get you a little anxious.
Okay?
Not too anxious where you need some pills, just a little something.
Just a little bit, get that hair on your arms, kind of stand up, say, man, I got to get to work. I got to make sure that I am laser focused and I am like knocking out of the park every single day so I can hit this goal. So that's awesome. So, all right, let's talk about, listen, so we all have ups and downs, right? So, I will say that, and I've said it before already on this show, is that, listen, I'm a human being. I have good days and bad days, right?
Thank you for being a human being.
Yeah, so I'm a real person, right? I'm not going to pretend to be, I'm this high, mighty person. So our coaches, right, are going to go through the same emotions, ups and downs, good days and bad days that we all do, right? So you talked about it a little bit. You kind of hinted at it, right? Is that you now in this position as director of coaching, you've had to use some of your experience with personalities and so on. So how do you help, or how do you recognize when a coach is maybe having a bad day or going through a challenge, and then how do you help them kind of overcome that or kind of see through it?
So just like what you do in real estate, you ask them why, like what's going on? Tell me why you're not performing. Tell me why maybe some agents aren't graduating. Tell me why, right? You really have to dig down and ask questions. Don't always assume. I can assume, she's having a bad day because of blah, blah, blah. But if you don't really dig and probe, right, ask questions, you're just assuming, and you may not be hitting what it is that's really bothering them. And that's what I tell them to do with their agents as well. Hey, we're all human, right? We experience life, right? We're moms, we're dads, we have basketball games, we're football coaches. But if you don't figure out what's really going on with an individual, you'll never be able to really help them overcome what challenge they may be facing. Let's be honest, you can't.
Sure.
If I had something going on personally in my life, I may have a smile on my face, but sometimes you can feel people's energy if you're around them. I'm a big energy person.
Absolutely.
So if the energy is off, hey, what's going on? Like, talk to me, tell me about what's going on. And your people have to believe in you and they have to trust you.
Yeah.
I'm really big on that. I'm not here to judge, but trust that I'm going to help you create a solution to whatever the problem is. And if I can't, we'll find a resource that can.
Right.
But allow me to help you. But I ask them why, and I already built that trust with them and that rapport so that they feel comfortable in telling me what's truly going on. Because it may be something personal.
Yeah.
It may be truly something personal. I'm not going to say her name, but I had an agent the other day reach out to me asking about, her check.
Yeah.
And come to find out, I'm like, well, why is she pressing me about getting her check? Like, she knows how this operates.
Right.
But there was a death in her family
right
around the holiday time.
Yeah.
And that hit her and it affected her. So now I'm like, damn, that explains why this, that, and the other. So, we said a little bit of Holy Jesus, come to Jesus prayers.
Yeah.
We did all that. But now I know why she was behaving the way she was. And, I was grateful that she opened up to me about it.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like we never really know what's going on
in somebody's
life. Yeah, I mean, I've had multiple situations or different events in my life where I've gone into a meeting and I've kind of come out of that meeting thinking, God, what a real jerk.
Yeah.
Right. And then, listen, there's been plenty of times they probably could say the same thing about me too.
I was going to say, Joe.
Yeah. No, but I found out later on a couple occasions that, some of the challenges that individual was dealing with outside of business, and man, it made me feel like crap, and so I think we all have to kind of, really be very conscious of that.
Absolutely.
And just, remember that, we're all human, right?
We are.
Yeah. So, all right. So let me ask you a question. Are you okay with maybe kind of giving some advice to our folks that are watching, those that maybe that are just getting into real estate or that maybe are new in the real estate? Because, we all know that January 1st of 2022, from that day to December 31st, 2022, a lot of things changed, right?
A lot of folks were like, right now. So if you need a house, just call me again. Oh, sorry. Not shameless plug. I'll go. Go, Joe. Go.
So no, a lot of folks were getting into the industry. They were excited. We had a good run there after COVID. And obviously things have shifted. And, the market has really kind of become what I am foreseeing as what's getting into a very normalized market. But obviously there's going to be some ups and downs with getting there. What advice would you give to someone either getting into real estate right now or that's brand new in the real estate with, kind of planning out their year now for 2023?
First thing I would say is get a coach.
There you
Rosa
go.
has some great ones.
Absolutely.
But on a serious note, if you don't get a coach, especially coming into the market, get some kind of mentor or at least talk to some seasoned agents.
Yeah.
My first advice would truly be to get a coach because I'll just speak to my own testimony. I am so grateful for my background, and I was able to become very successful in a very short period of time because of the business mindset that I had. But I have had agents that have no freaking clue what to do, right? And that's why our percentage of agents who survive in this market and survive in this industry is so low.
Yeah,
it's extremely low. And people don't have the thought of like, okay, what does marketing look like? How do I set myself up as a business? All those little things that you're like, fucking, I'm getting ready to start my real estate business because everybody is selling like crazy. And no, that's not life.
Right.
It's beautiful on Facebook. It's beautiful on Instagram. But the reality is you need a plan. You need some structure. And I always tell people, listen, I will be as humble as God knows what. And now it's going to be out there. But I had to have my parents pay my bills for 2 months when I started.
Yeah.
Like talking about humbling. That
Absolutely.
is such a humble experience because here I am, a grown ass woman, and I'm in a new business. And I'm like, oh my God, this ain't working. And my mom's like, baby, don't give up. And I'm like, oh, but mom. Because when you come from being a W-2 employee to a 1099, and you know what your paycheck's going to be, so you know what you could do, but then you don't know what your commission's going to be, so you don't know what you can do. It gives anxiety. You feel unsuccessful. But one thing and another reason why I wanted to become a coach, in addition to obviously the leadership, is to share my testimony. I'm really big on sharing my testimony. Listen, just because I dress nice and I have these curls that are popping, Joe, it does not necessarily mean that that's the way it started, right?
I love that.
I had to go through and I had to have those trials and tribulations to put me in the position I am today so I can share that with other agents. Listen, don't just come out here thinking you're getting ready to kill the market. Like, it was given to you at one point in time, but now you got to go back to the basics. You got to go back to those open houses. You have to market. You have to do those videos. You have to really have the right partnerships. Like, that's how you become successful.
Yeah.
Take it back to basics. Like, we all want the Louis Vuitton, but you got to crawl up a little bit before you can get there.
Yes, amen to that. I mean, there's the big misconception. People see these fancy ass suits and these nice cars, everyone posing and acting like they're celebrities, but that's not really how it is. Like, you got to get to work, and there's that part of being a professional that you have to look the part and so on, but you got to get to work. You got to be able to really obviously get ready to go out there and just grind. So, all right, let me ask you just one final question here.
Yes.
So, talk to us about some of the new things that are happening within La Rosa Coaching and kind of our partnership now with kind of how we're bringing in the Grant Cardone coaching too as well, including that as another option for our agents.
So we just, last month in January, we were able to go and visit a lot of different La Rosa offices.
Yeah.
And one of the main things that I received as the director of coaching is, what other programs are we going to have for that kind of in-between agent, right? Like, they're not a top producer, so they're not doing that 24 plus or more transactions, but they're not that new agent doing the 0 to 12 transactions. They're kind of like that in between.
Right.
So one thing that we talked about at a corporate level is bringing those additional programs that'll help elevate those middle agents to that top producer agent.
Yeah.
And that NAC agent can take that next step, NAC, the new agent coach, can take that step into that middle tier. So really providing the right tools and resources and programs like the Grant Cardone program, providing that for our agents to give them more options so that they don't have to seek outside of the company. Listen, my company can provide you with not only a great coach, not only a great director of coaching, but also the tools that'll help them elevate, at any level of the business. And that's one thing that we're really working hard in this, role and within the company, in the education department and, the coaching department and the marketing department, to provide those tools for our agents.
Awesome.
Yeah. At any level of the game. So
cool. We're looking forward to getting more folks the opportunity to have some awesome experiences with both you as a director of coaching and all of our amazing tools here at La Rosa. So listen, thank you for being on the show.
Problem.
It was awesome. It was quick. I
get a full week of vacation for this.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know about that.
You caught it. We have it recorded, Joe. Sorry.
All right. Well, thank you, Tiffany. We had a great time here. So
thank you, guys.
That's our show for today. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.